clearly from the whatever the rocks which are seen, whatever the familiar features in the foliated and as well as non-foliated rocks, which are quite common, they are very differ from the one another, foliated rocks and non-foliated rocks. So foliated rocks somewhat they are weak to compare the non-foliated rocks. So now all the aspects which are going to be seen very clearly, whatever the foliated rocks which are there, they are less whatever they are compared to, and whatever the non-foliated rocks they are very somewhat hard. They are showing some harder than the foliated rocks. So here these classification according to even types of metamorphism, we can also call it as a regional metamorphism, regional metamorphism, whatever the what you can call it as mostly contact metamorphism, isn't it? Regional metamorphism and contact metamorphism. So they are the basically you can very quite different. So regional metamorphism takes place, which has been especially regionally where the temperature is very high and pressure is moderately affects. So what are the rocks which are subjected to change of pre-existing rocks, which are going to be such type of metamorphism, especially a particular region only which are going to be affected, where high temperature and moderate pressure takes place. Such type of metamorphism we can call it as regional metamorphism. Regional metamorphism, mostly the best example of slate, cyst, which are going to form in this regional metamorphism. Then coming to whatever contact metamorphism. So contact metamorphism, it is a metamorphism which are when the magmatic intrusion or magmatic bodies which are intruded along these rocks or along the foreign hood rocks, whatever the pre-existing rocks which are going to be subjected to effect by the magmatic temperature and magmatic pressure. So these neighborhood rocks or surrounding rocks which are going to be changed or which are going to be metamorphism occurs in these neighborhood rocks, and then the resulted rocks convert into metamorphic rocks. So because of the contact of temperature, contact of magmatic body, or even the effect of temperature of magmatic body or pressure of magmatic body. So when, as we know, from the below the earth, the magma, when it is trying to move or trying to rose to the earth's surface, so when it's moving, it has high temperature and pressure. Magma, as we know, the greatest temperature it's about 1000 degrees centigrade, even pressure also very, very high. So when it is moving from the upper mantle towards the earth's surface, when it's moving, so whatever the foreign hood rocks or whatever the surrounded rocks, they are going to be affected by the magmatic contact or magmatic body. So this magmatic body, which is because of having a high temperature, it is going to impact this magmatic body or magmatic winds, which are going to be impact the surrounding rocks because of high temperature, because of pressure. So that because of the contact of magma, due to the high temperature and pressure, the surrounding rocks is going to be affected. The surrounding rocks are going to be affected, and they are going to be result in the metamorphic rocks. So this is contact because of their close movement, because of the magmatic close movement along through the pre-existing rocks. The pre-existing rocks are going to be metamorphosed. This is contact metamorphism. So in this way, the type of how nature we can see how the pre-existing rocks are subjected to change by the metamorphic agents. It may be temperature, it may be pressure, or it may be either chemical active fluids and gases. Whatever the metamorphic agents which are going to be effect on the pre-existing rocks to bring the marked changes. So these agents which are going to be very grateful help to form the metamorphic rocks. But at the same time, during the span of time, it is also required. Time also required. And depth of the brecciated rocks also, it plays a major role, because according to depth, temperature increasing with the depth, isn't it? Below the earth, when depth is increasing, temperature also increase. Temperature and pressure also increase. Why? Because according to geometrical phenomena, every 31 meters, 1 degree centigrade will be rise. Like even pressure, overlying sediments, overlying rocks or over body, which are going to be impact on those rocks, and so that which are going to be influence. So it means depth of the rocks, and even it is even what you can call it as even continental regions. So even orogenic regions, the orogenic regions, definitely it has been high depth, because of the on the continents, orogenic areas or hilly regions or elevated regions. What happened? High depth has been take place. So as we know, at the place of continental region and orogenic regions, the crust thickness is very high, even up to 75 kilometers. But whereas in the oceanic regions, the crust thickness is about 35 to 40 kilometers, isn't it? Whereas the continents and orogenic regions, especially, the earth crust thickness is very high, 70 to 75 kilometers. But here, whereas the oceanic regions, whereas the low-lying areas, the crust thickness is very, very small, that is about 35 to 40 kilometers. So in all the aspect, the metamorphic rocks, so temperature where it is possible to, where is it possible to rise at depth, and also thickness of the overbody and or overlying rocks or overlying sediments are also plays a major role, because the overlying rocks which are going to be pressure, overlying nothing but it applies pressure is going to apply. So according to depth, for example, if the glacial rocks at a depth of 10 kilometers and another glacial rocks at a depth of 20 kilometers, so the rocks at 10 kilometers, they are having some amount of pressure. But whereas 20 kilometers depth, the rocks are having a much amount of pressure. Why? Because of high thickness. So the thickness is made up of sediments. So in all the aspects, the rocks which are going to be seen very clearly to form a types of metamorphism. They are broadly, we can say, a regional metamorphism and contact metamorphism. There are several types in this, isn't it? Ocean floor metamorphism, burial metamorphism. There are several. They are similar, but broadly we can say a regional metamorphism and contact metamorphism. Even thermal metamorphism, only what you can call it as only temperature is dominating place, isn't it? So it all variations depends upon the agents like heat, temperature, like heat, pressure, or chemical active fluids, which are going to abundant influence on the brain response. Based on that, we are going to classify there are different types of metamorphisms. So in the next class, we will see very clearly all these about types of metamorphism and what are the rocks which are best example for the different types. Okay. Yeah, my class is over. Thank you, one and all.